Welcome to Get Over It, the Consciousness Transforming podcast for exceptional 21st century living. We've got a ladies show today. We're going to be speaking with Maryon Stewart, and we're going to be talking about her new book, Manage Your Menopause Naturally. It's a 6-week guide to calming hot flashes and night sweats, getting your sex drive back, sharpening memory, and reclaiming well-being. Now, for all of you 30, 40-somethings, don't run away, because menopause can start even at your age, and we're going to delve deep into that momentarily. So, and if you're a guy listening, pay attention, because, if you have a lady in your life who's going through this, you want to understand what she's going through. Okay, so you're going to get some great tips, and Maryon is very knowledgeable and forthcoming with her information. Now, the information shared on Get Over It uses intuitive and pragmatic insight to help you shift your consciousness to break through the blocks and release energy that is no longer needed. Yes, we're going to help you let go of the BS that's been holding you back. But you guys know I always ask that question, are you truly ready to? And by the way, folks, BS is belief system. Now, a bit about me for my new listeners. Intuitive since birth. I'm a third-generation intuitive with over 3 decades of experience supporting people to break through the blocks along their path. I'm a strategist for personal and professional transformation, revealing cutting-edge information that enables you to prosper and thrive. I spent 25 successful years in corporate America as an executive sales professional, and I am the founder of Healing Visions Ministries and the Northern California Children's Education Network, a 501c3 nonprofit. I also authored 2 books. I provide consultations and healings in all areas of life that heal the mind-body-spirit connection, allowing you to live your very best life. My clients tell me that I keep it real while providing them with accurate information to assist them along their journey as a spirit living a human existence. But they also say, if you really don't want to know, don't ask, Monique. My background includes a doctorate in metaphysics, Reiki master teacher, ordained minister, and clinical hypnotherapist. So whether you are stressed, depressed, or possessed, I can help. To find out more about me and the services I offer, go to my website, and that's MoniqueChapman.com, and I invite you to like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and LinkedIn. My guest today, Maryon Stewart, is the author of Manage Your Menopause Naturally and 27 other books. A world-renowned healthcare expert, she has helped tens of thousands of women around the world overcome PMS and menopause symptoms without using drugs or hormones. In 2018, she was awarded the British Empire Medal and was recognized as one of the 50 most inspirational women by the Daily Mail. You can check her out online at her website, and that's MaryonStewart.com. That's MaryonStewart.com. Welcome, Maryon.
Hello, it's great to be here.
Hey, it's great to have you.
I love hearing all about you as well. It sounds like you're completely amazing. I love the spiritual thing is really close to my heart, I have to say, and I think it's you're doing some really good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and you've done outstanding work, between the book that I've read and, doing some investigation about your work. You're truly here as a healer and not necessarily, go to the doctor and get 9 pills and see what happens in the morning. You're giving women and people in general alternative ways to heal themselves and to work with their bodies, and I really appreciate that because, it's not always about going to the doctor and getting a pill. So this book on menopause, Manage Your Menopause Naturally, I should say. How did you get to this point? You wrote 27 other books. Why this one? Why now?
Well, it's a bit of a long story, really, but I started out helping women with PMS years ago, based on 200 medical papers, and then eventually there were medical papers on menopause, and so we tweaked the program and turned it was a one-to-one program, and my team and I helped tens of thousands of women all around the world to get their symptoms under control and then help them to future-proof their health. And eventually I was shown how to make some Facebook Live films about 3 years ago, and I made 4 little really rubbish quality films on my phone, and within 12 weeks over 1 million women saw those films, and I was completely inundated with the most, sad and needless suffering. And so that's why I'm kind of on this bit of the journey now, because I realized I couldn't just carry on helping people on a one-to-one. So we had focus groups, and the women wanted more help than I could provide in my Facebook group, because at the time Facebook didn't have a memory. And so I was saying the same thing over and over every week to all the new people. So we took the science from my 5-month program and we turned it into 6 bite-sized modules, and we thought I could just teach women how to manage with all the research that is available, and they could do it themselves. But actually what I didn't realize was that in 6 weeks it would be turning women's lives around. So it's just so life-changing, taking people from being in a really dark place, feeling like there's nothing left to live for, through to feeling turbocharged and the best version of yourself. And so then the book came, because I thought, well, okay, I'm only going to see so many people on my course, and I want everyone in the world, all the women, to have this information. And so I've turned the book into, it's a bit of a course manual, because it's got the 6 weeks in there, but it's also got lots of information about how you manage after menopause, because we're not, 100 years or so, we weren't living much past 50. And so it didn't really matter. But now, when 40-something represents halfway for so many of us, we need to look after ourselves and know how to prevent things like osteoporosis, heart disease, dementia, and so on, and so that you can actually make longevity a great experience. So I'm really focusing on everything from perimenopause, which is the 8 years leading up to the menopause, right the way through for the rest of your life.
Okay. Well, I was going to talk about that next, so you're reading my mind. You talk about the 4 different stages of menopause: early menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause. So can you talk to us about each stage and maybe what signs that are appearing or how we know? Because so many women in their I'm getting now like 32 to 38. They're calling me. They're not having cycles. They have, done the career thing, so they postponed having their babies. And now they're worried that they won't be able to get pregnant. So could you walk us through each of the stages, please?
Yes, I can. And it does depend on each individual, and also what age their mom went into menopause as well. There's a relationship between that and what we experience. But essentially, there are lots of different ways you can go through menopause. So I sometimes hear from women like you do in their 30s who go into a very early menopause and their ovaries just fail early. Equally, some women have a hysterectomy, and because they have a hysterectomy and their ovaries are taken away, then that sends them into quite a radical menopause suddenly. Otherwise, you've got perimenopause, that is the 8 years leading up to menopause, so that can happen. The average age of menopause is 51, but menopause, which probably not many people know, is actually the anniversary of your last period. So it actually only lasts for 1 day, and then the next day you're postmenopausal for the rest of your life. So that's exactly. So it's just, and it doesn't really matter which stage you're at. You just need to learn to meet your needs, and there are basic things that have gone wrong in your body, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a minute. And when you correct those, you can actually alleviate all the symptoms.
Okay, so you talked about things going wrong in the body. So say someone's experiencing early menopause, what signs should they look for?
Well, when you go through early menopause, so a lot of women who get premenstrual syndrome, they feel anxious, irritable, maybe a bit depressed and moody, maybe tearful, tired, and not like their usual selves. So when you go through early menopause, very often the symptoms of PMS last for longer. So you feel like you've got PMS for more days a month. And maybe you start to get some hot flashes and you wonder if it's hot in the room or if it's you. So they're the kind of things that you're going to get happening in early menopause and even perimenopause. Early menopause, sometimes periods just stop and they just disappear, sometimes even overnight. They just go away and don't come back. I have had women in their early 40s, I'd say, who went into an early menopause, and when we corrected their nutrient levels in their body and balanced out their hormones, their periods came back again. So, and it's probably a good idea if you go into an early menopause, it's a good idea to learn to meet your needs so that you can see whether that's likely to happen. It doesn't happen in every case, but even if it doesn't happen, you can still fill the receptor sites in your cells with naturally occurring estrogen, so you can fool your brain into thinking that all is well in your body, and then the symptoms disappear.
Okay, so what if you don't? I kind of went through that, and, I'm learning a lot from you post-menopause.
Okay.
I had shared with you that, I went through menopause at 40, and I was happy, no more cycle, thank you very much, because mine were so horrendous. And then about 41 and a half, it was like breakthrough symptoms and, gushing and the whole 9 yards. And I was so upset. I called the doctors. I'm like, hey, what's wrong here? I want to go back to not having to experience this. So I guess in some ways I built up my nutrients and, started the cycle again. But what if a woman doesn't want to continue the cycle? Some women, they want to have it until the day they leave Earth, and God bless them. I was so done. So what about the woman who has that breakthrough and she doesn't want to have that breakthrough? She wants to go back to a non-cycle life.
I'm actually not a magician, unfortunately, so I can't tell you exactly how you do that, because I think that, we're kind of whether you believe in God or spirituality or whatever it is, but there's some kind of preordained way that we're going to be in terms of the way our cycle pans out. I don't think we can. It's like saying, can you choose whether you want your periods to start at 9 or 14? It's just the way it goes. But what we do is, I do, and what I'm doing in this book is I teach people how to get themselves back into really good shape. So if we can kind of wind back a bit, and I can just explain what's gone wrong in the body and why no one's doing anything about it, because then I think we'll have a better understanding. And then when you get yourself back into really good shape and your body behaves properly, you don't have an issue, because even if you have a period, you don't have any symptoms. And so whether you're young or older, the main thing is that you can take your attention off your body and these awful symptoms and just get on with being a wise woman and give your gifts to the world in the way you want to, show up the way you want to. So if I wind the clock back a bit, so when we were doing work in the early days with women with premenstrual syndrome, we did 5 separate studies where we measured nutrient levels. And we found that between 50 to 80% of them had low levels of magnesium, iron, zinc, essential fatty acids, calcium, vitamin D, and so on. And we came to the conclusion over time that when they had low levels of nutrients, it actually changes the color of the lenses through which you see the world. And it also influences your brain chemistry and your hormone function. So the brain chemistry is a bit like the conductor in an orchestra, and then it governs everything that goes on in your body. And if you imagine the conductor has one arm tied behind his back, and the tune doesn't sound so good. So when your body is firing on 2 cylinders instead of 4, you're pretty much in economy mode when you've got low levels of nutrients. And incidentally, there's been more research since ours now showing that literally billions of women around the world have got low levels of important nutrients. It's impossible for you to feel well because you're running on empty. You're like a bucket with a hole in it. And so one of the things that we need to do, and that gets worse as you get older, one of the things we need to do is we teach women how to detect and correct nutritional deficiency. So Mother Nature in her wisdom gives us all these wonderful physical signs, skin signs, hair and nail signs of what we're short of. But no one at any stage in our life teaches us how to interpret that. So as a little baby girl, we're born with millions of eggs, but we have no roadmap, we have no manual, and no one teaches us about any aspect of whether it's our periods or pregnancy or whatever it is. We're just not prepared. And in fact, our latest survey on 1,100 women, we found that 96% of them said they're not prepared for menopause, and 2/3 of them said they felt robbed of life as they knew it. So you've got the low levels of nutrients is one of the things going on when you get to midlife. And then you've got the other thing. So as time goes on, when you get to 35, from then on, the number of eggs that you've got left in your ovaries diminishes. And as time goes on, it gets less and less till you get to menopause when you've got no eggs and your ovaries pack up. Now, you've got, within each cell, you've got what's called an estrogen receptor site. And it's expecting estrogen to keep everything ticking over properly in your body.
Uh-huh.
And 100 years or so ago, we weren't living much past 50, so it didn't really matter. But obviously now, when that represents halfway for so many of us, we need to look after ourselves, and we need to fill those estrogen receptor sites with naturally occurring estrogen, which looks so similar under the microscope to the estradiol that you had before menopause, that you can literally fool your brain into thinking you've got normal circulating estrogen. And so if you learn how to consume that in food and maybe some supplements that are science-based, little and often throughout the day and the evening, then your brain thinks everything's normal again. And it doesn't just eradicate your symptoms, but it also has been shown to help to improve your skin, your hair, your nails, your vaginal lubrication. There's even research to show that you can reduce the depth of wrinkles significantly within about 12 weeks by consuming naturally occurring estrogen. So it's so important for us. And then the research also shows that it helps to protect us against osteoporosis, heart disease, and dementia. So after menopause, before menopause, you're making as much new bone. You lose about 3% of your bone mass every year, and you make about 3%. So you stay in even balance. But after menopause, when the ovaries are no longer functioning, you're not making new bone. And so you're losing bone mass every year, and that's why women get osteoporosis. But if you consume naturally occurring estrogen and you meet the needs of the receptor sites, your brain thinks you've got circulating estrogen, and so the factory lights go back on again, and you start producing those lovely new bone cells, and you make up for the loss. And you're also protected from heart disease and dementia as well. So it's so important to learn to meet your needs. And I've tried to outline everything in very user-friendly terms in the book so that people can travel through this transition, whether they're perimenopausal, early menopause, actually in menopause, or postmenopausal, and they can work out the right kind of program for themselves so that they can get themselves back into really good shape again.
Yeah. Well, folks, she has definitely done that. The book is an easy read. I'm going to call it a friendly read. The information is somewhat scientific, but presented in a way that you can easily digest it. Okay, you don't have to be a rocket science or, a medical doctor to understand what she's talking about. We're speaking with Maryon Stewart. Her book is Manage Your Menopause Naturally, and the website is maryonstewart.com. That's MaryonStewart.com. Maryon, talk to us about some of these symptoms. Let's start with the hot flashes. And is it a difference between a hot flash and a hot flush?
No, just how it translates across the pond. So we say estrogen, you say estrogen, so it's just, slightly different, but no, it's exactly the same thing. So what's happening is, because you've got empty estrogen receptor sites, your brain is trying to kickstart your ovaries back into function because it doesn't get it. Remember I said we weren't living much past 50, so it didn't matter. But now we've got all these extra years, and the brain doesn't understand that there's no estrogen circulating around your body, and it's saying, hey, ovaries, start working again. So it sends these thermal surges, which sometimes feel like a ghastly aura, and sometimes they feel like an electric shock. Some women just get this uneasy feeling, and they just know that a hot flash is coming. And once it starts coming, there's not a lot you can do about it. You can try drinking cold water or opening the fridge, or if you're in Canada, you can roll in the snow, as one of my patients did. But before she met me, I have to say. But you have to turn off the process. You've got to fill the receptor sites, and then the brain thinks everything's normal. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, those hot flushes, whatever you want to call them, they can be pretty devastating. I mean, mine actually occurred like down my chakra level. I could feel the heat there, and then it would expand outward, and it seemed like it would expand far beyond my aura, so that people were around me. I was actually giving a healing to a couple that came over, and I had a hot flash, and they were like, wow, you generated so much heat, and I was 4 feet away from them. So that's how much heat I was generating at that time. It worked great in the wintertime because you didn't have to wear a coat, but otherwise, it was pretty...
But it can be so... I mean, we're joking about it, but actually, do you know what? It can be so embarrassing, especially women who go to work and have to go to meetings. I had one patient who was the CEO of her company, and she literally used to faint. She just passed out cold, and it was just awful and terrifying. So I think that, and who wants to, look like a lobster or a beetroot? And you just don't, do you? It's not your makeup drips off. And
you'd have to put a lot of green over it or something to cover up the red.
Yeah, no, it's just the thing is, I feel really blessed to be able to do the work I do, because having helped literally tens of thousands of women to reclaim their well-being over the years, we constantly see these amazing transformations. And in the book, I talked about some of the patients, so they've actually freely shared their stories. And I'll give you an example, because some of them were working women, and I just think it's a crime that they have all this wisdom and they end up curled up in a little ball, not able to leave home, feeling that their best years of their life have passed them by. So one of the women I've talked about in the book is a woman called Professor Jo Brewis, and she was one of the co-authors of the government report on menopause in the workplace in the UK in 2017. And I met her at a conference, and she told me that she thought she had early Alzheimer's because she couldn't remember people's names that she knew. She'd lose track of what she was saying mid-sentence. And she was just afraid that she was going to have to leave the workplace. And in addition to that, she had spots on her face for the first time in her life. She was depressed and tired. She was constipated. And she really felt like life was over. So I said, look, come on our program and just see how you feel. Got nothing to lose. So she came on the program, and I can't remember exactly how long. It was 6 weeks, 8 weeks. All her symptoms disappeared. Her brain fog cleared. Her constipation cleared up. Her energy came back. In fact, we made a film with her and 9 other women last year, and she describes herself with a big smile on her face as practically a new woman. And not only did she not leave the workplace, but also last year she was made head of department at her university.
Yay!
So it's, that, and there was a midwife who she had what the doctor said was a nervous breakdown. She had a mental breakdown. She couldn't work. Now she's back at work, running a team of midwives, absolutely loving delivering babies, and has got a whole new lease in her life. It's just a whole new chapter that she's enjoying immensely. So I can't sit by and watch women suffer and no one do anything about it. And there was a Mayo Clinic survey published in 2019 on doctors and gynecologists, and it showed that only 7% of them felt adequately educated to help women going through the menopause. And I just think that is just not right.
Yeah, that's unconscionable. I mean, you would think with the medical training, especially those in the specialty of, obstetrics and OBGYN, all of that together, that they would know more, but they don't. Most of the time the patient is bringing more information to them than they can give to the patient. Now, there's just 2 more symptoms I want to cover because it seems to be very prevalent right now, and that is insomnia. And the other one is the vaginal dryness and the lack of libido. Because, girl, I got to tell you, at 40, my libido just got up and ran away. My husband would look at me, and I'm like, don't you even think about it. And that's not healthy for a good marriage, right?
Oh, it's terribly sad. And, we did a survey on, I think it was about 800 women looking at relationships, and 70% of them said that they feel switched off from the waist downwards during menopause, and over between 50 and 70% of them have vaginal dryness. And we've surveyed men as well, and they feel isolated, they feel scared, they're frustrated, obviously, and it's sex is the glue that keeps our relationships together. And when women are having hot flushes, they don't even want to be cuddled, and so it does break down relationships sometimes. And again, that's a needless thing to happen. If you learn to get yourself back into good shape, your libido comes back. When you go into economy mode, you've got no libido, no energy, no enthusiasm. Women describe themselves sometimes as flatlining. They can't experience joy because they're just running on empty. So when you have what I call a midlife refuel, then you get turbocharged again, and libido comes back. And also when you're meeting the needs of the estrogen receptor sites, the mucus in the vagina, the moisture, comes back again, and the elasticity, so the tissues repair, and you can get back to having a comfortable physical relationship again. So I'm sorry if I've answered that in the alternate. You asked that as a second question, but it's just, that's the saddest thing. And I just want, if nothing else, just give women hope that they can actually get themselves back into the point where they feel good again about themselves, their body, and their sexuality, because I think that's so important.
Okay, well, you talked
and
about
then you wanted to know...
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to go on to insomnia, but if you've got questions, ask me whatever you want to.
Go ahead, and I will come to my question.
Okay, so a lot of people are not able to sleep when they go through menopause, but that's been made worse by COVID because a lot of us have been anxious, and so that shoots up cortisol, which is our stress hormone. And when cortisol goes up, you can get symptoms which mimic menopause. So you can get insomnia, you can get brain fog, and depression, and fatigue, and belly fat. Those are quite common symptoms. So what we try and do on our program is teach people how to bring that cortisol down into the normal range, and then obviously to address the symptoms by having the refuel, by stopping. A lot of the times people wake up in the night because they're having these night sweats, and so they're getting these thermal surges, waking up feeling like they've had an electric shock, and then because their urethra and their bladder become thin because of no estrogen, they're off to the bathroom several times a night, and after you've woken up 3 or 4 times, it's really hard to get back to sleep again. So what we're doing in the course of the program is we're helping people to top up on naturally occurring estrogen so the tissues repair, and also we're switching off the night sweats so they don't have to wake up for that. And then if they're having lots of caffeine, for example, or other things that are going to disturb their sleep, we just modify their diet and lifestyle in the short term while they get themselves into good shape, while they have the refuel. And then we go, even in 6 weeks, I have women who go from waking up 7 times in the night to maybe just getting up once to pee, or not even waking up at all. I was talking to a woman the other day, and she said, I'm just sleeping through the whole night. I can't believe it.
Oh, God bless her.
So that... It's, that happens. It's just learning to get yourself into really good shape. And unfortunately, the information isn't all in one place, which was the other reason for writing this book. So it could be accessible. And as you say, I've threaded some of the research through the text, but in very usable form. And then at the back of the book, I've got all the medical references. So if you are more scientific, then you can look at the research that supports, because everything we do is based on published medical research.
Yeah, and folks, she actually has some menus, recipe menus in the back that you can eat. She tells you what cookies to eat if that's your big thing. There's a lot of dietary resources. There's recipes in the book to help you. There's even, as I said, meal plans. So if you're serious about getting control of what is going on with your body with menopause, this is definitely very prudent information for you to have at this particular time. Now, Maryon, I know you said the 4 stages of...
Can I just add something in there? So that sounds like you have to like cooking. And for those who do like cooking, there are recipes and menu plans, but equally for those who hate cooking, there's loads of fast options and shopping lists of things of pre-prepared things that you can get that are still healthy. So it doesn't mean if you don't like cooking that you can't have the benefit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that, because not everybody cooks.
Exactly.
You talked about the 4 stages of menopause, but does menopause ever end? I mean, you're in menopause for the day. I get that, but then you're in postmenopause. But do the symptoms ever end?
In theory, no. The medical literature says that menopause can last for 10 years. I've had plenty of women come to me for help in their 70s, because if you think about it, those estrogen receptor sites are never going to fill up without some help. Not with decent estrogen. It may take environmental estrogen, which are the harmful estrogens that you get in plastic and pesticide and pollution, which are not going to be good for you, and that can cause an increase in breast cancer. So you want to be taking naturally occurring estrogen into your body, and to help to turn the symptoms off. And also you want to protect yourself, because if you're living to 80, 90 or even longer, then you want to have good, strong bones and know that your heart's going to take you through that distance, and that you're not going to be a victim of dementia.
And that's a big thing. I mean, so many people nowadays are, they're having signs of early dementia even at an early age, even before the age of 50, which is a bit scary. Talk to us about exercise in menopause and being able to take care of our bodies. Why is that so important?
It's important because when we don't feel well, we are more sedentary. And also, as we get older, we've got less oxygen going through to our brain. And we need to, I had a TV series in the UK for 3.5 years, and one of the segments we did was a series on joint health, which we called Use It or Lose It. And if you just stop exercising, then everything will seize up. And so you need to keep yourself going. And also our metabolism slows down at midlife. So that's the rate at which your body ticks over. And that means that you're much more prone to put on weight, especially around your middle and your tummy. So by doing some exercise, and I don't mean running a marathon, it can just be dancing to your favorite music or whatever it is that lights you up. But by doing exercise, you actually release endorphins, which make you feel good, so that helps your mood. You oxygenate your brain, and you speed up your metabolism, which helps you to lose the weight. So there are lots of good reasons why, and there's plenty of research on cognitive function and memory to show that by exercising, you're helping to maintain your memory and your cognitive function. By consuming naturally occurring estrogen, you're also helping to, there's research that shows that you can restore your both short and long-term memory and improve cognitive function. So there's lots of evidence to show that you can really get yourself into great shape, and life becomes so much more enjoyable, and you can do whatever you want to do without being overwhelmed by your lack of well-being.
Okay. And what about the opposite end of exercise, and that's relaxation? Why is it important to relax? True, deep relaxation, and give us a couple of hints on what that could look like.
Yes, well, it's important for a number of reasons. So the first reason that I learned about as I was studying this subject is that formal relaxation has been shown to help reduce the hot flashes and night sweats by 50 to 60%. So I don't just mean watching TV. I mean either doing some meditation or a guided meditation or the relaxation you do at the end of a yoga session, that kind of thing. So if you can do that for a minimum of 20 minutes a day, preferably half an hour, that helps to turn off the flashes, but it also helps to rewire the brain and lower cortisol. So while we're all feeling stressed and frazzled, taking time, even if we're really busy, and I hear people say all the time, oh, I haven't got time to do that, but actually, if you make time, it pays back. It gives you so much more time back, because by resting your brain and going into almost a trance-like state, which you can do when you're meditating or using an app, it helps you to rest your brain and come out the end of it feeling like you've been recharged, like your phone when you plug it into the mains. And so you then get second wind, and you can have a much more productive day. You don't fall asleep on the sofa in the evening, and it's just a more quality existence by taking a break. And there's so much research to show that that's good on so many levels.
Okay. Well, on your website, when you go to MaryonStewart.com, you will see a 5-day plan if someone wants to engage in that. And that's basically working on relieving stress and anxiety. A 14-day plan. You have master classes. Tell us more of what you offer and how people can connect and work with you.
Yes, we have. In fact, in January, we started, at the turn of the year, we started the Midlife Refuel Club. So you can go to the website and sign up for that. It's completely free. We've put tons of self-help information in there. Lots of webinars I've done that have been pre-recorded on different aspects of menopause, so you can have access to those. And then I do a live session every week to answer questions, and sometimes we have guest speakers. So people can come, if they buy the book and they're managing themselves, they can come and ask questions. And we're trying to sort of build it as a community and just to help women so that they've got a safe place to go where they can get science-based information. And then, as you say, we've also, people that are suffering mildly to moderately can manage themselves, but people who are suffering more severely and want some help, then we've got the one-to-ones that I've been doing for over 28 years, and then we've also got the 6-week course I talked about, which is all virtual, and you can have a personalized program but cycle through that with other women, or you can have some self-help programs. There's just something for everybody depending on what you need and want.
Okay. Well, Maryon, when I am so engaged with someone as I am with you, the time just flies and we are out of our time. But I'd love for you to share a pearl of wisdom with our audience today, something they can take away from our talk today.
Well, I think it's the very least I'd like to give women is hope that they can actually get back to feeling well again and not give up. Because I've seen so many women give up and even feel suicidal, and it's just not necessary. They can come back from that. They can feel better in their 50s and 60s and 70s than they did earlier on in their lives, and it can be a whole new beginning. And I think that if they just go away with hope in their heart and be determined, that you're at a crossroads when you get to this phase in your life. And if you do nothing, you're going to go downhill. But if you learn how to meet your needs, if you get the right knowledge, then it can be a whole new chapter in your life. And it's great for everything from your self-esteem to your ability to work, to your relationship with your partner and your family and society and the whole planet. So I just think that women at this age are so wise. We need to make sure that they're well enough to use their wisdom, and that's why I'm so passionate about helping women to understand how to navigate this journey.
Well, thank you. And folks, if there's somebody in your life that's going through menopause and they are struggling, especially during this time of COVID, go on Amazon, order the book, send it to them as a gift. Okay, it's an easy, friendly read, so they're not going to, be 3 paragraphs in and say, oh, I can't do this. Okay, and it will help them, and as it helps them, it's also going to help your relationship with them. Okay, and guys, you need this information also so that you can understand what the lady in your life is going through. So, Maryon, thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your information. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's lovely to be here.
Oh, well, thank you. And to the audience, thank you for being with us. I truly am honored, and I do appreciate everyone's time and attention. And please remember that the most important choice that you can make is what you choose to make important. Consider making the masterful choice of managing your body naturally. Abundant blessings, light and love to all. Agape.